This episode of the Citadel Cafe is brought to you by listeners like you. Visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe to find out how you can become a patron and help make this show possible. This is the Citadel Cafe, episode number 468 for Wednesday, August 9th, 2023. My name is Joel Duggan, and the Citadel Cafe is where my friends and I hang out to talk about the geeky stuff that we are into. And I have a new friend this week, Mr. Tadpole Milk. You can find Tadpole at Tadpole_Milk_ on Twitter and on Twitch, and Tadpole Milk without the underscores on YouTube. Hello, sir.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks for agreeing to come on. For folks that don't know, Tadpole and I have been circling one another on the interwebs as we are both avid Minecraft players and Minecraft content creators. And a lot of the times when I finish my Twitch streams, Tadpole is live. And so I tend to raid Tadpole quite a bit. There's also a bit of overflow between our two communities, which brings me actually to the first message that I have to deliver, which is Cosmic says hi. I was instructed before I hit record.
I was as well instructed to tell you that Cosmic said hello.
Yeah. You see what they did there? You see how they lined that up?
Perfect.
Yep. They are giggling themselves silly. This is your first time. But the last time I think it happened with Steven, we both caught on before the show and we had a good laugh about it. But yeah, it does happen when both guests are known. Some shenanigans behind the scenes take place.
Nice.
So for folks that don't know, or maybe want to find out, now that they know where they can find you on the internet, when someone shows up on Twitch to watch you live, obviously you're playing Minecraft, as I mentioned, but what kind of things can people expect when they show up to your community and your stream?
So when they show up, my community loves to use sounds on my channel. So if loud sounds are not your thing, be warned, they do like to scare, but we do like to keep it family friendly. We call it family friendly adjacent. So we kind of we'll play a little innuendos, but that's about it. I'll try to create a space that is welcoming and warm for every walk of life. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing. If you want to come in, relax, hang out, that's what we're trying to do.
That sounds awesome. I mean, and people can probably figure out why, I would send my community over to yours with that description, because I think the family friendly adjacent is something I'm leaning harder into these days. I'm obviously keeping it family friendly for the amount of Minecraft content that I do is kind of a no-brainer. But as I venture into other video games, as I'm looking forward to playing Starfield when it comes out in about a month, then I will have to, of course, let Twitch know that the game is, NC-17 or whatever the rating is for it. And I don't know if there's adult language in Starfield. If there is, then I don't tend to repeat it myself that much on stream, just because I think mostly because of the Spawn Chunks podcast. But on this show, I forgot to let you know before we hit record, it doesn't fucking matter. We can keep it, we can do whatever we want on this show. Because years ago, we started talking about Game of Thrones on this show weekly. There was no way. It didn't matter whether we were swearing or not. There was just no way to keep it family friendly with all the stuff that happened in that show.
Right. Yeah, that one's not staying clean.
Exactly. And it's not like we're vulgar, but like sometimes you just really dislike a show and you really need to let people know that this is solid gold shit and there's no way around it. Doesn't happen all that often. I find more lately I've been watching things that I'm more into than not. So when people are welcomed into your community and then they're sitting there and enjoying some Minecraft, like what kind of things are you up to in Minecraft? Are you doing single player, multiplayer? Like what's the mainstay when people show up?
So my thing is I have a long-term forever single player world. When I started playing, when I first started playing Java Minecraft, I started streaming. So the world I played in my single player world was my very first Java world.
Cool.
I had played Minecraft. Yeah, on the Xbox I started with. My kids got me started playing Minecraft. And I was like, oh my gosh, how did I not know about this game for all these years? Like, this is amazing. I've only been playing since about right before the Nether update is when I first started playing Minecraft.
Okay. Wow.
So like not a long time have I been playing. But yeah, as soon as I got a laptop for Christmas, it was a gift. I was like, well, I'm streaming, and my internet was trash. I had no idea what I was doing. I watched a bunch of videos, and I just kept getting better and better and better. And I was like, I just want to build like ridiculously large things and have fun doing it. And I hope people will come in and chat and just say, hey, I did this or this is going on. And then we'll chat while you're doing the grindy things in Minecraft. And that's what's happening. And people are just coming in and relaxing. And I equate it to, if you remember when you were kids and you went over your friend's house, and there'd be like 5 or 6 of you there, and you're just doing random things. Someone's reading comics, someone's playing a video game, a couple guys are throwing a baseball in the house, which you're not supposed to be doing, right? And you're just, you're BSing about nothing at all. And a couple people come and go throughout the day. That's kind of the environment I'm trying to create. Like, I'm going to be there. Okay. I'm going to be there. That's my house. We're hanging out. Come hang out. If you got to go, you got to go. If you want to come in, that's cool. I mean, that's the vibe I'm going for. So just any kind of weird thing I want to build, that's what we're building. And then I got lucky enough to get invited to a couple of SMPs. I was invited to Friends and Nonsense with Small Cats. I got invited to the Candle World, that a fellow Halcyonite, which I am now on Halcyon Heights, Amazingly Chronicle 2. I got invited to that. So, like, adapting to the SMP servers and playing with others has been just so much fun, interacting with so many cool people.
And is the server thing new in the last year or so?
Yes. Yeah. So I've only been on Java for a year and 8 months.
Okay.
And that's how long I've been streaming.
Wow.
And yeah, so within the past year, that's everything's new. Like, I love it. I'm having so much fun, and I'm meeting. My experience on Twitch has been just extremely positive, and I've heard horror stories and stuff of people meeting bad people and bad groups, and I know it's out there. I'm not completely ignorant to all that and everything, but it's like I've been just kind of like blessed, I guess, just meeting more and more good people over the years. And Joel, you're one of the first ones I ran across through, like, I found Pix's survival guide, which led me to the Spawn Chunks podcast. So like you haven't known this, but you've been there since the beginning. So
oh wow. Well, I'm flattered.
I found all that. Then I found you on Twitch after I discovered Twitch, because I thought YouTube was the only thing, right? I knew Twitch was there, but I didn't know Minecrafters were there. I thought PvP games were on Twitch. I didn't know this was.
Yeah, I think with the Twitch thing and the community stuff, it very much is, as far as I can speak from my experience, because I just passed 5 years on Twitch back in March. And I was doing the edited video thing. So I was more emulating people from Hermitcraft and from, I can't remember the server that Pixelriffs was on before before I got into Hermitcraft. But I was watching more edited content. And for me, I didn't know about the survival guide. I don't think Pix started the survival guide until we had started the Spawn Chunks. So for me, it was Paul Soares Jr. Surviving and Thriving in Minecraft was his series. So that's how I learned. And I was playing on my own with Steven ESC on his family server for a little bit. And then I went single player for a while. Then I started the Citadel about 6 years ago. And right around the time I started the Citadel is when I decided to start streaming. Because I thought, okay, now I've got this I'm starting over. I've got a brand new world. I can share this experience with a bunch of people. And after doing that for 5 years, what I feel about the horror stories that you hear, granted, I still every now and again will get, some troublemakers in chat. They don't last very long, because Cosmic and Hunter and Elkhorn and my other friends that moderate for me are fantastic. And it's almost like a game between them to see how fast they can ban, some little turd that comes in and tries to cause trouble. But also,
so good.
And I think you and I, without getting into specifics, we're both old enough to spot the trolls, not engage,
Yes.
wait for them to
Yes.
fizzle, and then nothing really happens. And the
Right.
people that I see that have these problems in their Twitch chat, they're usually problems themselves. Like when I listen to
Exactly.
someone talk about all the problems that they're having in a Twitch chat, sometimes if I see it on like a YouTube channel or a social media clip on TikTok, and I go like, well, you seem like you're half the problem, because
Right.
it's very drama queen central, or like there's just a lot of, you know, he said, she said stuff, and I'm just like,
yeah,
you're
feeding it.
Yeah, you're part of the problem. And I think that, you know, you end up with the community that you cultivate. Like the energy that you put out there is the energy that that you get back. If you were a shit disturber in Minecraft and you were a troll on servers, then your chat would be full of trolls, right?
Exactly, 100%.
But you're not, and I think that speaks to, you know, like the kind of, you know, content that you're putting out there, the kind of community, like you said, welcoming, you know, all walks of life. You know, you want everybody to feel safe, have a good time. I get a lot of lurkers. Like I get a lot of people in my community that like to put it up on a second monitor, either at work or at home while they're working, you know, from work from home situations. They may have small humans in the house. They might want to have the volume on without having to worry about what's being said or what's being talked about. And so you end up with that kind of chill, laid back community. Because I mean, most of the time when I look at my chat room, I want to say half or less of the number of people there are actually engaged in chat, because I think a lot of the time it is that second monitor experience, you know?
Yeah, I'm guilty of that, but usually I'm sitting there in awe of what you're doing, and I'm like, how did you get there?
Well, thank you.
I'm just watching and soaking in what you're doing. I'm like, how in the world? So yeah, I'm learning as I'm watching. It's like, wow, look at that. So yeah, I'm one of them.
I appreciate that. I think one of the things, and I can share this with my experience as an artist as well, is that, you know, I worked really hard as a teenager going through high school to get better at art, because I knew I wanted to do it for a career. But I still had a full-time school curriculum of English, math, science, French. Like, you know, I had to do all that stuff. Art class was one of them, but it was one period a day. And once I got into university and art in general was my full-time curriculum, I got better way faster. And it was the same with Minecraft. Like I was playing Minecraft in my off hours. I was working as an artist. I was doing independent illustration. I was playing Minecraft. I started streaming, doing video editing. It was very much a hobby that I was pushing to do more in. And then when I realized how into Minecraft I was, how much time it was sucking out of my week, and I was just like, okay, something's got to give here. I either have to start making money with this, which I know is possible, or I have to dial it back, because it was starting to eat into time that I really needed to be spending doing other things. And so I pushed on it. And once I pushed on it and I was able to start devoting, I would say probably around the time I started West Hill, that was when I knew that I had at least, we'll call it a part-time job. Like I could say, okay, just like I had a part-time job at the mall when I was a teenager, my Minecraft streaming was now like a part-time job on weekends. And that's when I started West Hill about 2.5 years ago. And that's when I really felt my, I don't want to say skill, but I guess my knowledge in Minecraft went leaps and bounds ahead of where it was, because I was absolutely dumping the hours in. And, you know, I feel like it was that like 2 to 3 years in the game, plus a good year of having it be like a part-time gig. And that's when I started to feel comfortable. So you're coming up on that. Like, you know, you said you're a year and almost 2 years coming in playing Minecraft, but you've been streaming for that. And like ever since you got Java. So how long have you been streaming for? Was it a year and 8 months you said?
So this December will be 2 years.
2 years. So, okay. So I think you'll find, you know, when you get to that 2-year mark, because you stream, I want to say almost every day.
I try. I take Wednesdays and Saturdays off, and sometimes I do bonus streams. I love it. I just can't get enough. Honestly, if you're gonna say, well, what do you want to do? I want to stream Minecraft.
Yeah.
And I don't have a plan. Like I have projects and stuff I'm working on, but like a legit plan. I don't use creative. I don't plan things out. Like the most planning I might do is, I got this from you, is go to ArtStation, find something, a reference picture, and I'll use that, and I'll just, okay, I'm going to make it the way I think I can make this. And that's, I love it. I just love doing that.
So, were you a creative kid growing up? Like, did you do any art? Have you ever been musical? Like, do you have any kind of like creative hobbies outside of Minecraft? Because I find people that really get into Minecraft are either very technical, like they're the
Mhm.
redstone kind of problem solving people, or they're
Yeah.
creative people, like myself and Johnny. Like Johnny's a musician and an
Right.
audio engineer, and then he got into Minecraft, and that kind of bleeds over into being a visual artist and wanting to express yourself. Me, visual artist. Like I'm
Right.
painting with Minecraft essentially. So for you, like,
Yes.
do you have like an artistic background?
No, absolutely not. When I was young, we had Legos. That was the
Mm-hmm.
closest thing. I liked to draw when I was younger. I tried to get in band in 5th grade. We had to try out. So there was no like school sports or anything until uh 7th grade, I think, except for band. So band was there, and we did like summer stuff like baseball and soccer and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna try for band. And they were like, no. I'm like, well, what do you mean no? Like, I'm trying out. Like, nobody here, like, there's a couple kids that had piano lessons or something, but other than that, nobody had anything. And they're like, no. I'm like, seriously. So I was like, okay, like, you're not even gonna bother trying to teach me anything. And so I did nothing until 7th grade, and then I just got into sports because that's what was there. And that's what I did. I focused all my energy on that.
Wow. So if I can guess, football or basketball, maybe.
I did football, and then I wrestled in the winter, and then I did track in the
Nice.
spring. I wasn't a, grand champion or anything. It was just there. I loved doing. I enjoyed. So I enjoyed practice more than the games. If that makes any sense to you,
Yep,
like
it
the
does.
the prep, all the preparation that went into it, the lifting, the conditioning, the running, the learning the plays, the learning the other teams, the scouting, and all that. I love that part of it. The games were fun. Don't get me wrong, they were fun, but it was like, all right, well, let's get back into it. Let's get back to training. I enjoyed that part of it.
I was a basketball player. That was me.
Okay,
Yeah. I really young, like 13, 14, 15 basketball player. I think I probably should have gone out for the football team in high school, but I didn't. Both my buddy Chad and I regret not going for it. We probably should have. And because I didn't, that means I really wouldn't have been able to attempt to go to tryouts for the university team when I went to university, which also would have been something good. But by that point, I know what you mean when you're talking about the training and the prep and all that kind of stuff, because I
yeah,
am not the most competitive person, and I found basketball
same,
games
same.
stressful. I felt that even though I probably had the size and the skills, I mean, at junior high, it's not like you're, playing super high level ball,
Right, right,
at least
right.
not pickup leagues that I was playing in. But I felt self conscious. Like I was tall, like I'm 6'1", and I
Mhm.
have been since I was 14. So like at that age, like you're a force to be reckoned
Oh,
with, because not everybody's your height, right?
right, yeah.
But I felt self-conscious about my skills, and so I found that games were quite stressful.
Hmm.
Translate that onto the sport that I did get into, which in my high school years, through my mid-20s, I was a bodybuilder, and so I really liked the training,
No kidding.
and
Really?
that's what I got out of it. Like I realized that with the sport prep, like with the training, the weights for basketball, because when I get into
Love
high
that.
school, I wasn't playing high school ball, but I was still playing on like a city league, and
Hmm.
there was a weight room at the high school. So like every now and again I would go in there. I also had like a local gym that I was going to, and I knew the kind of things that we were asked to do in prep for
Yes,
games, but I liked that program. And then
exactly.
I can't remember when I picked it up, but I picked up some book by Arnold Schwarzenegger when I was around 17. I was like,
Yes.
all right, this is happening. Like this is what's happening right
Encyclopedia
now.
bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely something that's happening, right? So yeah, I get it.
I'm the same. I'm the same. Like, I didn't get into that until well, I was married and had kids at the time, and
Okay.
I was like, well, I need to do something in my free time. Like, we had kids, and it's not like, well, I'm not going to go out gallivanting around or anything. My family's here. I want to be with my family, but I need something to occupy my time. We didn't have a computer or anything like that. Like, the internet was still small, and so I was like, well, I like working out. So it's the same thing, bodybuilding. I was like, well, let's just start training and see where this goes.
Nice.
Just did the research on my own. I just started reading articles, reading books, lifting the weights, doing the cardio, watching the nutrition, learning all the new things and that stuff. Yeah, I did. Like, I had a mini gym in my garage, like over the years, over the span of
Yeah.
like, 15, 20 years, buying a dumbbell here and there. And it just evolved into this thing like, oh my goodness, I was working out in the morning, but I get up at 3. I'd work out, go work for 10 hours, come home, do the soccer dad thing and homework and everything, and then I'd go work out again. So that
Nice.
was like my routine, and that was wild that you did that too. I did not know that.
I find that there's usually an interesting correlation between people that are self-starters and people that are involved either at a high level of sport or a high level of personal physical fitness. Like they both require the discipline and the same kind of discipline that's required to start a business or focus on growing something like a stream community, a podcast. Like whenever there's something that requires consistent effort and research behind the scenes in between the fun stuff, it's the fun stuff about the gym is the gym. The not so fun stuff is the kitchen, right? And you can learn to make it fun, but it's still challenging. Like I still years later not great at the kitchen side,
Me neither.
unless I'm loading. If I'm gaining weight, sure, I can do that, no problem. That's not a hard thing to do.
That's the best part.
Yeah, that's the best part. But it's a little slower going the other way these days, which is frustrating.
Yeah, I'm definitely not in it as much at all. So time is at a premium, and I'm devoting all my spare time that I can spare to content creation. So
one of the things about physical fitness too, with what you and I do with content creation, it involves so much sitting. And I think that keeping up that level of physical activity, even if it's just going for a walk, daily or in your case, maybe running kids around to practices or like whatever it is that you need to do. Anything that gets you out of the chair is usually a welcome break because I know that ever since the COVID restrictions really lifted permanently about a year and a half ago, I guess for us, where the gym was going to be open 24 hours and uninterrupted. It did not look like it was going to be a soft start again. Like you get in there for 3 months and all of a sudden they lock it down again.
Right.
So ever since then, I've made a real effort to make sure I hit it about 3 times a week minimum. And
it's good.
It's a time sink, but considering how busy, content creation is. But I absolutely am feeling the benefits of it. Not so much in the mirror, but like I really enjoy the breath of fresh air, getting away from screens. I put my phone on silent for the 3 hours that I'm out, and just like whatever it is, I'm not going to be able to deal with it until I get home anyway. So I might as well just ignore it. And I really enjoy that break. I really like having that I want to say me time. For a long time, Stephen ESC and I were working out in the mornings together. And I like that too, because we're buddies. He's very busy. He also has a family. And so it was a good way to see one another like 3 times a week. And so that was really cool. He's now not going. He's working out at home with his son, and I'm going on my own. So there's a push and shove. Like I like going on my own too. Like it's kind of like my church. Like I kind of go in there. I used to wear headphones. I now wear headphones on the walk to the gym, but I don't wear headphones while I'm there because a lot of the times now the gym doesn't even have music playing, which I love. I just love being in there with the clanking of the weights and the people moving around. I really like that. Really, really like that.
Gym atmosphere is the greatest.
Before we get into the rest of the show, I do have to ask, where or how did you come up with Tadpole Milk for your username?
Okay, so like I said, I started playing Minecraft on the Xbox. We had I have 4 daughters. We had 1 Xbox.
Wow.
Okay. Everybody had to share. The oldest did save up, and she bought herself a PlayStation. So it was 3 daughters playing on 1 system. And they would save their Christmas money, and they all had their own Xbox Live accounts, right? So I wasn't gonna buy myself one. I liked playing video games, so when I had a free minute, I'd play. But they played all first-person shooter games, so Call of Duty, Fortnite at one time, Apex. I don't know if you know these, but they're all first-person shooters. Okay,
I do. And I love that it's a gaming family. I mean, like 4 daughters. I mean, you're outnumbered for starters.
Oh yeah, I'm terrible, by the way. They're really good. I'm trash at first-person shooters, but that's what they played. So I was like, oh, these are fun, and I'm garbage at them. So
yeah.
But I this goes back to the grindy thing in sports. I would grind out the achievements because they wanted to unlock the skins. We had to do X amount of thing, right? So they would get frustrated. Well, I would just be like, well, I'll do it. And I'll go on when I had free time, and I just grind out slowly over 3 accounts, just unlocking all these skins for them, right?
Dad of the year. Wow.
Forever. It took like all my free time after work and school and work, exercise and stuff. So it was like a couple hours here, a couple hours there. And it was just, that's all I would do. And well, then they would get mad. After a while, they were grateful I got them the skins, but they're like, oh, our stats are terrible. You're ruining our our KD is horrible. Everybody's making fun of us. And I was like, what? I got you your stuff. And they're like, no, you're terrible. You need your own name. I'm like, fine. So I'm not really super creative when like my brain, I don't know. Obviously yours does it, but when I sit down to try to focus and be creative, my brain goes, oh, it's time to shut off. And I get nothing.
Wow.
I mean, I just get nothing if I try and force it. If I'm just sitting there, I'm driving in the car, or I'm taking a walk,
right?
Or I'm thinking, I get all these ideas. So I have a little notepad. I mean, not all the time. I should have it all the time, and I'll write them down. That's where some of my Minecraft build ideas have come from, by the way. Just those random thoughts when I'm kind of like in a Zen moment or something, or just mind's drifting. So we couldn't think of anything. So we're like, all right, well, there's name generators. So we pulled one of them up, and we sat there for it was almost 2 hours. It was over an hour at least. And we were just laughing and carrying on. And it was a great father-daughter moment. There was my two youngest and me. And we were just laughing and laughing and laughing and all these silly names that come up. And Tadpole Milk came up and we just all laughed so hard. I think it was probably because we were just tired. I was like, well, that's it. We're using that one. And then we tried typing it in without the underscores. Well, apparently somebody has that name without the underscores. So I was like, I don't care. Put the underscores in. When I got my laptop and I decided to stream, they're like, well, what's your name going to be? I was like, well, my name's Tadpole Milk. And they're like, you can't use that. Like, well, it's too late. I was like, I've already streamed 3 times. I can't change it now. So that's how it came about. It was just, Dad, you need to get your own name type thing. And the funny thing is when I got it, they're like, well, you can't use that. I was like, guys, I'm never going to stream any content. I'm never going to be a streamer. And here we are. So now it's kind of like a joke. It's like, yep, that's my name.
I find it really, really endearing, but also hilarious that you failed to check with the daughter PR firm before you went public with the name. That was funny when it was just us, Dad. But now that it's on the internet.
Yeah, I honestly, I need to double check with them on everything. And I have on some things, honestly. And they've been right. So if I think my brain's like, I should do this. And they're like, yeah, no.
If I had kids that were, roughly the same age, grown kids as you have, I would be checking in on them because I spend a lot of time on the internet, probably more than I should because I work from home and you're trying to keep up on what's happening in streaming and, you watch some streamers and you read comments on YouTube and stuff like that. And I mean, I spend a good portion of my, comment reading and stream watching, looking up the stuff that people say. And I'm like, what does that mean? What's that acronym? Is that good? I mean, and sometimes it's important. Like, I need to know what that means. So if someone throws it at me in my chat, I don't look like an idiot. And 2, if it's inappropriate, I want to know. Like if it's alluding to something, and it doesn't have to be something gross like sexual, but if they're making a comment that's, political or inappropriate, I want to know.
Right.
When you go looking for the things that you don't know, wow, do you feel stupid on the internet? It's just ridiculous. A buddy of mine has a 2 teenagers, like just inching into the teens. Okay. And we were talking over beer a couple of weeks ago, or about a month ago, I guess now. And the look on his face when he tried to just explain just how different it is compared to when we were, 12 to 15. I was like, I get it. I understand just how different it is. And he was like, no, you don't. And he just kind of went into why. And I was like, oh man, I'm kind of glad I don't have kids right now. It was a lot. It was a lot to take in.
Yeah. There's some things we try to be very, here we try to be very open and very honest and communication is huge. I want them always to feel like they can come talk to you about anything at any time about ever. It doesn't matter what it is. But sometimes I'm like, okay. I know we're really cool with communicating, but I don't need to know all that.
It's funny. I saw a social media post about that recently where I would say that the guy talking was probably around our age. And he was saying I want my kid to be able to call me at 1:30 in the morning from a party where he wasn't going to drink, but he did. And now he needs a ride home. I will be there. Yes. I will go pick him up. And he will not get an earful from me. He will say, he will get a thank you. He will get a swift drive home. and just a, hey, you did the right thing. The next day we're going to have a conversation, but I'm not, but I'm not going to rip him one.
Yep.
When I watched that post, I thought, like, even though I think that would have been what my parents would have wanted to do, but when I was a teenager, there was just the fear of God in you that if you screwed up like that, you're going to be grounded for a month. So you never did. Like you never did. But if something happened accidentally, like in the movies in the 80s when somebody spikes the punch and you don't realize that you're drinking, you know, and then you end up being drunk. Like and I didn't drink until I was almost 30. So I never crossed that line because it was about fear. It wasn't about doing the right thing. And so all of that was a very different mood. Like I never felt when things like that would happen, I wouldn't think that I could go to my mom about it or go to my dad about it. It would be more like, let's just get out of here and not tell anyone. Like there'd be that discussion among your 6 friends in the car on the way home going, look, no one mentions anything to anybody's parents because they all talk. Like they will, my mom will call your mom and then we're all screwed. So like, you just have to keep it on the down low. And it's the kind of stuff you see in Stranger Things, right? They're just, don't tell the parents, you know, because their parents aren't cool. It's because in your mind, when you're that age, your parents were never teenagers. Like you don't think of them as 16-year-olds,
right?
You know, not the farthest thing from your mind, right?
Right. They came to existence at that age, you know, they were never young. There was no evidence, right? So back then, no cell phones, so we were good.
Oh yeah, no, we didn't have those either. I think I was working full time in animation before I had my first cell phone. I'm sure I was.
Oh wow.
I was well out of university. I didn't have one in university. University still had a phone. I think it was cordless, but we had a house phone. Because I remember calling my folks from my apartment, you know, 3rd and 4th year, to talk to them about what's going on. Yeah. No, we didn't have cell phones.
I only got one because my wife was pregnant with our first child, and my
that makes
place of business, they were like, I was like, hey, we're pregnant. She may call for emergency. I need to know. I need you to tell me. You will let me know as soon as she calls if she does. Well, we'll tell you on your break. I was like, I'm sorry.
That's a no.
Yeah. So we're getting a cell phone.
Before we get into what we're watching outside of Minecraft, like outside of your streaming endeavors, what nerdy things have you been up to lately?
Lately, I've been trying to learn how to use DaVinci Resolve on my own. It's kind of hard.
Video editing software, right?
Yes, video editing. I've had a friend I've met online helping me out a little bit here and there with the replay mod, which I just have installed in Minecraft, which I know it's outside of Minecraft, but literally everything I do is Minecraft.
Oh, well, I mean, the video editing part is part of content creation. I mean, I nerd out about, you know, podcasting backend and, you know, audio tech. And I mean, I use different audio software for recording. And when I talk to another podcaster, it's very, you know, usually about like, how are you capturing everything? What are you doing, you know?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I just learned how to use DaVinci by watching videos. Basically, it's actually really simple. It's not hard at all. I like all the buttons and little icons you can use and everything. It's like overwhelming. But if you watch a couple videos, and not really that difficult, it's actually pretty easy. I'm not super tech savvy, just like things don't intuitively come to me. I have to watch and be taught, and then I can do it. And then I'm learning how to use replay mod and edit those things together. I actually just put a YouTube video up today. My first one ever that I edited. So
nice. Congratulations.
Thanks. It's just a cinematic. It's not like
still though
a let's play or anything, but yeah, I'm really proud of it. I've played it a couple times on my channel, but yeah, I really want to do more of those. I really liked it.
For folks wondering, we'll have a link to that and of course all of Tadpole's social media in the show notes. So if you want to see the cinematic and go check it out on YouTube, we'll have probably a link to that in the show notes, and probably an embedded, you know, YouTube player actually.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Like, I get why people do it. Like, for a long time I never understood why. I get like people are creative and this and that, and I'm like, well, that's a lot of work, but I did it. And then when I watched it, what I did, oh man, I totally get it.
It's something that I really like about podcasting is if I can stay on top of it. Specifically Mondays is really good because I've got the teamwork, you know, with Johnny, but I get up, we prep, 10 o'clock, we hit record. I'm done by noon. I grab lunch or I go to the gym. By that time, Johnny's got the edit done. He's usually a lot faster than that, but by the time I get home, the edit is waiting. I then publish the show, do the show notes, do the social media. Usually by around 4 or 5 o'clock, I'm done. And every Monday, we create a thing. And even though what I do now is a shift from working as a visual artist, being able to create a thing, have it done, shipped, every week is really, really fulfilling. And when I was doing edited content, it took a lot longer. It was like 3 or 4 days of editing, and a couple days of recording. Eventually I started taking my streams and chopping those up into Let's Plays as opposed to like trying to record actual clips and like have conversations with no one. I was having conversations with the chat, and then I would do it that way. And it was a lot of work because you get a 3-hour stream that you're chopping down into like 2 or 3 25-minute videos. So you'd have to find the right places to stop and start and whatever. But crafting a narrative and crafting something that worked out of that 3-hour thing that you really didn't have that same sort of structure was really rewarding because it felt like you were telling a story. It felt like you were crafting something. And my time in animation kind of bleeds over into video editing with like timing, a little bit of narrative, editing time, like all that kind of stuff. So I really enjoyed it as well. I don't do video now just because of the time sink. I don't have the time, to do all the editing. If I did, I would probably do the same thing that I used to do, which is chop up streams into more Let's Play type content. But really what I'm thinking about doing now is I definitely need a stronger presence on social media. So rather than devoting the time to do Let's Plays in the same way that you went at like a trailer and did like a smaller project first, my return to edited video is going to be for something like TikTok, where it's like 1 to 2 minutes, or clips from Twitch. Like I need to start doing stuff like that because relying on the platforms that we're on now to do the discovery is not great. So I'm glad that you found the time to get into YouTube because again, Minecraft and YouTube are like best pals.
Right, hand in hand.
I will certainly continue to send my audience your way whenever we're streaming at the same time. It's always a hoot. The joke that I don't know if you hear this because you're usually live. I don't know whether you have audio on in my channel or whatever, but the joke that I usually lay down is like, it's the best chuckle in Minecraft, folks. Like you're going to have a good time. You're going to have a good time when you land there.
I appreciate it. I always tell people, I'm glad you like my laugh because otherwise it'd be like, well, this is pretty bad. Like the TikTok thing is funny. You said that and we were talking about my kids. They're like, Dad, you need to start doing TikToks. I'm like, I can't. Are you kidding? You know how old I am? I can't be on TikTok. And they're like, just do it. I've been putting my clips on TikTok, Joel.
Oh, wow. How's that going?
It's all right, I guess. I mean, they're like, well, you're doing really good. I'm like, okay. I was like, how do you tell? So like most of them are like averaging like 200 to 300 views, I guess. And there's a couple that have 1,800. So I guess that's good. I don't know. I'm looking to drive traffic from those platforms to Twitch.
Yes.
So like I consider myself a streamer, not a YouTuber or a TikToker or whatever you want to call it. Like my main mode where I feel comfortable is there. I don't know as if I'd ever feel comfortable being a YouTuber. I've never really made a video like that though, like talking like basically to nobody and recording and stuff like that. I don't know if I could do that.
It's tricky. I would say that my time podcasting, because I had a good 5 or 7 years podcasting before I started doing video content with Minecraft, and having that capacity really helped, just like pretending you're talking to a live audience, because over that time I was still doing live streaming back when Justin TV was a thing before it turned into Twitch, I think.
Oh, wow.
Because I was streaming my art. I was doing live comics and doing live drawing online, and had a small audience there. And because I had a small audience, I'm talking like 4 people, then before they showed up, you had to just talk to no one. You had to pretend like there was somebody live,
I remember
and talk through that. So I was able to take that skill and put it towards the videos. And then like the moment that you post one video and you get a couple of comments, then you realize you have an audience, and then you can kind of like, oh, I'm talking to like Cyber1292 who left a comment on my last video. I can just pretend like I'm talking to them, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I don't give many comments, so I try to reply to whoever, even if it's like a thumbs up. I'm like, hey, thanks for the thumbs up.
Moving on to what we have been watching this week. I've started The Witcher Season 3 on Netflix. I mentioned this last week on the show that it has finished in its entirety. It's now all available on Netflix. I've not been binging it. I've been trying to watch about 1 an evening over dinner. And I think I actually had to cut this evening short in order to come and record here. So I'm 2.5-ish episodes into the third season, so there will be no spoilers. I only barely remember the second season. I know I've spoken about both seasons on this show. I know I did not like the first season, despite liking the premise and the world. I felt the first season was poorly executed, and so I did not have a lot of nice things to say. But to kick things off on a good note, and they did that in season 3, you're 3 minutes in, and there's a really good sword fight that's wonderfully shot, wonderfully choreographed, shows off Henry Cavill doing something he does very well, which is action films, and action shows, I should say, because obviously The Witcher is a series. But in the first couple of episodes, there's been 2 or 3 really great sword battles, and just a huge amount of respect for the filming, for the cinematography, for the choreography and the stunt people, to Cavill for the amount of rehearsal and dedication I know he puts into his craft. I'm a big fan of his anyway. I follow him on social media and I just enjoy the stuff that he puts out there. And I know from interviews how passionate he is about The Witcher. And so I know he wanted to get all of this kind of stuff right. And so I was really, really taken with it. Now you, I believe, have seen the entirety of season 3, right?
I did. Started watching, I couldn't stop. Like, I actually binged it. I don't normally do that. I don't normally do that, but like I got up a little early every day. I watched, and then like at lunchtime I'd watch a little bit, and it's like, wow, this is really good.
Were you someone that played the games? Like, did you come to it knowing the history of The Witcher? Okay.
Nope. I had no idea it was anything other than a Netflix original. One of my daughters said it was a comic or a game. No, one of my daughters said it was a game. And I was like, really? It was a game first? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, it's really good. The game, I haven't played, but they said it was really good.
I imagine the game is probably more linear than the way that they tell the story in the show. And
sure, yeah.
I know that the books are more like the show in that they're a series of short stories in a lot of ways, or a series of events, and they're not always told in the same order. And so the show tried to do that, but in the first season, and I don't feel like they really achieved that. But in the second season, it was definitely more straight ahead. It still has this bad habit of not telling you when or where you are when they go to it. It's like establishing shot of this very important cathedral-like palace.
Right. Yeah, where are we?
Like, what is that? They keep on talking about these different realms and these different cities and these different kingdoms, but they never freaking tell you. Like, are you in the north? Are you in the west? Like, I mean, the one thing that's easy to spot is the place where they train the witches, which is like, it's seaside and it's a big spooky tower. Like, it's very easy to. Okay, I know where that is. I think it's south, but I know that's the witch place. Like, I got that far. But
map wise, I have no concept.
No clue. Zero.
Where this stuff is.
Zero. So that part has been a little bit confusing, especially because I mistakenly, Mr. Butterthumbs here, hit the skip button by accident when they started season 3 with like previously on The Witcher. And I I accidentally hit it. And I was like, no, I wanted to pause it and get a drink, not skip it. Yeah. And now I can't get it to play again. So it's just like, son of a gun. So I think what I need to do is maybe go back to like Wikipedia or something like that and read the synopses of season 2 to kind of refresh my memory. The problem with that is that there's all these weird fantasy names. I don't know who they are outside of the main Geralt, Ciri, and Yennefer. Like, I don't know really who anybody else is.
I don't either.
I need to put faces to names, and that part has been a little bit tricky.
I turned subtitles on, which I don't normally do.
I had to do that too.
I hate reading while I'm watching because I want to immerse myself, but it actually helped for this entire season. I haven't done it for the other seasons, but it helped me follow along better. I don't know. Maybe it'll help you throughout the long run or something. I don't know, but it helped me follow it so much better.
I'll actually skip ahead to one of my big cons for the season so far, which I think I might have mentioned before about the show. I'm not entirely sure. It seems familiar when I wrote down the note to talk about tonight, and that is the audio mix on some of the show sucks.
Yes. Okay.
There's all this bass and all this room noise in these giant halls where you have 2 actors, often two men,
Mhm.
whispering to one another because it's all hush hush spy corner of the
Yeah.
room stuff, which is obviously plot heavy because they're trying to
Mhm.
like kidnap Yuriy or unfurl their plans and trying to figure out what's going on. And you can't
Right.
hear what they're saying because it's
Yeah.
muffled. And I've got my TV just cranked to the point where I
Same.
know I can hear it.
Yeah.
And it's inconsistent because then they go back to an outdoor scene with Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri, and you can hear all them just fine.
Yes. And I thought it was just me. My ears are really bad. And I'm
No.
like, man.
No, it's got something to do with the audio mix on it. Now is that, I don't want to lay it at the feet of maybe the audio engineers on the show. It could also be whatever digital mix Netflix is doing, you know,
Right.
in how they're sending it to me. So I don't know. I have a soundbar and a subwoofer though. Like I don't have a crappy TV sound system, so
Mhm.
you know it should be decent, especially because other shows are just fine. Especially
Yeah.
I find Disney Plus, actually the audio in Disney Plus is really good. So I
Exactly,
know
yes.
it's possible, but you're not alone. I absolutely did have to
Okay.
turn on subtitles. I think one evening I was actually eating while like
Mhm.
eating dinner, and I definitely had to put on the subtitles because between the poor audio and me, like the noise of eating and drinking and chewing, all that kind of stuff, I can't really hear what they're saying.
Right. This looks really nice, but what are they saying?
And again, to you know your point before about like you know the complicated fantasy names, you know, like that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
It just, if you can't follow where you are on the map, then like you need to be able to hear what they're saying, because
Exactly.
if the show isn't going to give you not subtitles but like titles at the bottom that say Nilfgaard
Right.
or north of here, or you know somebody's cottage,
Right.
or even like a year, then you have to listen to what's
yeah.
being said in order to
Right.
sort that out. And
Right.
while I normally applaud shows for not beating you over the head with content and plot, if you don't give us any information and it's all in dialogue, then at least make sure the dialogue is very clear and very easy to hear.
I like the world build that they've built here, and I like
Absolutely.
the fact that, like you said, they don't browbeat you with all this information. Like I get it, but at the same time, it's like it's just not enough. It's almost enough, but it's just not quite enough to make it all smooth and like flow. Like it's so. I really really like it, but it could be just a little bit better. Like in my opinion, Cavill carries it. Like the shortcomings,
Totally. Yeah.
his representation of Geralt is what carries all those shortcomings across. It's like it's so good.
I agree. And I think that is one of the strengths of the show is his acting and his presence. And
Mhm.
I want to say they've even done something different with his prosthetics, because it's a wig and he obviously has like a lot of schmutz and stuff. Like he's always dirty from fighting blood and whatever.
Mhm.
And he has either contacts or they've taken the time to digitally change his eyes
Yes.
to like an orange color. And
Mhm.
I don't know whether it's because he's just more in the light, like he's more outside during the day this season so far for me, or because of the way that they're handling his prosthetics. His hair seems to be back a lot more,
Mhm.
and you can see his eyes and the things that he's dealing with. In particular, I think that also the presence of Ciri through season 2 and now into season 3 has softened Geralt a little bit. And so
Definitely.
he's now expressing more. He smirks, or he expresses concern. He's got someone to protect as opposed to
Mhm.
someone to find. And
Yes.
I think that really helps Cavill show more of his range, because
Yes.
Geralt in season 1 was grumpy Geralt.
Yeah.
Not in a
Yeah.
bad way, but it feels very one-dimensional, right?
Right. He was a loner. He was a wolf. He's
Yeah.
on his own.
There you go.
Nobody was around. Yeah. He was. Now he's like becoming a father. You know what I mean?
Yes,
He's
absolutely.
a more warmer presence. So yeah, the hair's back. The face is more pronounced. It's more warm. It's so good.
And his physical presence too. I really like
Oh.
like in the same way that in the 70s Superman, when Chris Reeves would take off the glasses and kind of stand up full and
Mhm.
like transform into Superman.
Yes.
Geralt does the same thing when he goes from gruff kind of like gruff kind of companion or concerned party member to protector mode where he just hears something or he senses something with his Witcher senses. They don't give you any kind of real indication other than he kind of like stops mid-sentence and turns sideways and then something's coming. The music changes, right? But then he picks up his sword and he just becomes a different beast altogether. Like the stance, the stature, he stands up taller. He is obviously very confident when it comes to swordplay, which actually I think is something that he brings in the other way to dealing with Yennefer or dealing with Ciri, is that he's not as confident. He's a little bit more gruff. He has to be a little bit more blunt because he doesn't understand the nuances of dealing with a daughter, a daughter-like figure, that kind of thing. Right. Which is cool. And actually, speaking of that, I find that Ciri is layered and more complicated this season than in previous seasons.
So much better. So much better.
Less confused.
Yeah, it was almost irritating, honestly.
Agreed.
In the second season, I was just like, oh, are you kidding? Like, it was actually frustrating at some point, like the way they were taking her character. I'm like, oh, come on, don't do this. And it's so much better now. There's so many more layers. Her growth is just so much better as a character in the story too. So.
The one thing I wish that they had done for the sake of production would be to give her whatever her normal eye color is. I feel like the actress might have brown eyes because they give her some sort of blue contacts, but it never works in Hollywood when it's someone that has brown eyes and they're trying to give them blue eyes. It just looks like they have a giant egg for a contact lens. Her eyes look like footballs. It's very distracting, and I think that she could probably sell her powers enough and sell her, not abilities, but like she would stand out as different enough with her acting chops. Because Freya, I can't remember her name, Alan, is really good and getting better by the minute, I think, because she's not super old. She's only been in like 4 major productions, I think.
Yeah, she's young, yeah. See, I thought the eyes, I didn't even think about the contact. I thought they were big like that. I did notice how big they were because she's supposed to be half elven.
It looks like she does have blue eyes in real life, but I don't know why they would give her crazy contacts. Maybe because her eyes are supposed to be green in the show. I'm not really sure.
That I'm not sure about the color, but I did notice how like almost like oversized they were.
She's only 22 now. Oh yeah. So when she started The Witcher, she would have been probably a teenager.
Yeah, really young.
Because this would have been done filming a while ago with all the special effects and stuff they have to layer in. Which brings me to another positive. I've only seen 2 monster fights so far. But the fact that there's only been 2 episodes, that's pretty good, right? Like I can't complain. And one of them was a really dumb armadillo thing that for all the noises that it was making behind the locked door when I can't remember his name, but the fire mage was kind of hiring this beastmaster to send out this beast. That felt very video game. It felt like, oh, here's a thing from the video game. We should probably put it in the Netflix show. In the hedge maze at a fair, why isn't it a giant ball like Indiana Jones? Because the hedge maze is only so wide and then it wouldn't fit, right? Like there's all these things. And it's supposed to be like this deadly tracking animal. It's like, and it rolls at you? How is this thing not like a panther or something a little bit more aggressive? It looked like an armadillo. It was really dumb.
Yeah. How do you keep the scent when you're rolled in a ball spinning around like that?
Exactly. Now, on the flip side, Geralt went to some mage castle, and this is some poor storytelling because I don't really know where he went or why. He was trying to track the origins of the attacker, and the script just said, go to this white castle in the cliff. And when he went in there, it was all kinds of creepy hellscape. Like there were heads on the wall. They were talking to him. Their bodies had been magically stoned together in like a human centipede kind of thing. And that thing attacked him. And it was nothing but arms and torsos. It was terrifying, like real creepy. Like I don't get scared with stuff like that, but it had the irk, like it had the multi-leg kind of creepy, moved like things from The Grudge. I'm not sure if you've seen that horror movie, but really awkward kind of like spindly movements, and every time that he would do something, another arm would come from nowhere and just grab him, and like it was really irky in a good way. Like it really was something different. It wasn't just another monster with fangs.
Right. It was so out of left field. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, really supernatural. Like, and reminded you that it's not Dungeons and Dragons with like just monsters and caves. Like there are things that magically are put together, and they don't make any sense biologically or even physiologically. Like it's just the only
Right.
reason it's operating is because the magic is telling it to operate.
Yeah, I like that. That I didn't know how other people would take that because like I could see some people like, oh, it looked too fake or this and that. I'm like, man, that was crazy cool. That whole and that whole sequence of events, walking in there, seeing what he saw, and then when that thing just came out of nowhere, I was like, are you kidding me? I was not expecting that at all. Like I was not, because I thought like you said, the heads were in the wall. I'm like, okay, well that's like really weird. They're all right there in the wall, right? And then the rest of them come out of nowhere. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, the whole time you're expecting him to go up against some wizard with powers. Like you're expecting him to fight some personified, either a puppet of the puppet master or the puppet master itself. But you're like, well, it's only episode 2. That's probably not going to happen. Like just, they really kind of set you up expecting that.
Yeah.
I think because it looks like a house, you expect to have a person or humanoid like that, you know, coming at you.
Or like a bodyguard, like a sword axe wielding bodyguard of the head henchman or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
Like I thought it was gonna be that fighting to a standstill or something, you know, like somehow a rock falls in between and they can't get each other no more. And that's what I thought was gonna happen. I was wrong. But I was happy I was wrong. Like I love horror stories and like scary stuff. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was really good.
I'm not a big horror fan, but I don't mind horror in fantasy or sci-fi horror. If it's more sci-fi than horror, I'm fine. But things like the Alien franchise, I kind of lost interest over time, and certainly any kind of like horror games like Dead Space or something like that, not my jam. I'm more about action than I am about the horror side of things. But again, I like The Witcher. Like I like the fantasy side of things. And if there was a scary sequence in a Dungeons and Dragons show or film, then I'm into it. Same thing with scary stuff that happened in Game of Thrones. You know, like Game of Thrones wasn't necessarily a scary show, but there were some hairy moments where you're like, "Ooh, that's terrifying." Whoa, no, thank you.
Yeah, the suspense. Yeah, the build up and that suspense. If you do it right with the sound, and then the visuals that they can do, it is so good. Like I'm not into the back end gore and all that stuff. That doesn't.
No, I agree.
I don't enjoy that, but the story and the build up and the why is this scary, you know? And it's like, oh wow, you know, I really and if you have a subtle weird twist you wouldn't see, but the outlandish ones, I'm good. I don't need those ones. But like the real subtle ones, like I didn't see that coming. I thought it was this, you know. I really, really liked it.
And there is some blood and gore in The Witcher, but it's always with a purpose. You know, like the fight with this thing was gory, but like it looks like it's sewn together. So you kind of don't have much of a choice for him to stab things through the heart and have there be blood, you know? Yeah. And that first sequence that I mentioned where he sword fights like 4 or 5 henchmen at once. Yes. And at the very end, the boss magistrate or whatever that had hired all of them dies to Geralt's sword.
So good.
It's not a spoiler. It's the first 5 minutes of the show.
Yeah.
And
so good.
And what I loved about it is that he decapitates him, but you don't realize it at first, because what they did was they showed the camera from his point of view. He decapitates him. And the camera kind of like rolls off the shoulders. And you're like, oh, that was cool. That was supposed to be his head. And then the headless body falls in front of the camera that's now on the ground sideways because it's the head. I mean, a little gory, but
was
still
good. That was good,
for different, right? Like that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, yeah, I'm on board for that, because if I don't want to see just gore porn, because that's not my jam.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't gratuitous. It was done in a way that, of course, that's going to be, you're cutting someone's head off. It's going to have some blood in there, but it wasn't like, you know, buckets like Evil Dead shooting everywhere. It was, that's what you would expect if you do that. And the perspective was so good. I loved it. And when he takes his sword after he kills the henchman and he flicks it down to like basically clean it off. Do you catch that move?
Yes. He brings the guy in, puts the sword on his shoulder, and then pushes the guy away and kind of spins him through the sword. Yeah. Because they did that in slow motion, I think. That was like a Matrix camera move. It's like
so clean, so good. I was just like, what the heck? Yeah.
And that to me was just like, this makes good TV. And I'm thinking in my head, like, I've never played them, but that has to be a move in the game. Like that has to be some fan service right there. You know, anybody in our audience, if you want to write in, the Citadel Cafe at gmail.com, if you've played the games and you're like, oh guys, you're missing so much. Like there's so much stuff in the show. By all means, let us know.
What's the sequence?
Yeah, I'm only on episode two and a half, and it. So I know there's more to come. I am unfortunately lost. Like the plot for me is over my head, and I either need to go back and watch the last couple of episodes of season 2, or look up like who the hell the Elf Queen is and why she wants Ciri. I know that the Elf Queen lost a daughter, but this show does that stupid thing where they show you things out of timeline sequence that could be removed by 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, and they don't tell you. And so I don't know. So I feel like I need to go look it up. But I there's a bunch of people that I recognize, but I don't remember their significance. And then there's another bunch of people that I don't recognize at all, like the Emperor. No clue. Never freaking seen him before in my life. And I don't know whether they just changed the actor, whether there's just enough time that's passed by that some other actor that wasn't the Emperor is now the Emperor. Like I just don't know. And the show just hasn't done a very good job. Now, again, I did happen to skip that previously on Witcher moment by mistake. But I really feel like the show needs to have more clarity to it, especially because in a way, I feel like it does remind me of the DC cinematic universe where they tried to rush it. And I feel like the Witcher universe is much deeper and much better told than the DC universe in terms of how they're attempting to do it in films. But Netflix is rushing it. And because of the depth and complexity of the politics of the Witcher's universe and the continent, they really could have benefited from these first 3 seasons being 5 and being more concisely told and a little bit more structured. And like we said, like having times, places, having a map. I mean, like, I know you probably didn't want to do it because Game of Thrones did it, but like, I loved the fact that the Game of Thrones opening sequence would tell you where you were in the world.
It helps.
Like, are you at King's Landing? Are you at the North? Like, are you at Winterfell? Are you at the Wall? Like, I mean, the Wall was easy to spot, but like, there'd be different cities that you needed to know where you were. And I feel like with this, it would be nice to have those kind of landmarks. So now, without spoilers, you said that you've kind of binged the full series because there was a part 1 and there was a part 2. Did you find that the two-part release kind of put a cramp in your watching, or did you wait until the whole thing was done?
I just recently watched all of it, so I waited, obviously. So I wasn't going to watch it because of the direction they're going after this season. But I was like, I really enjoyed the story of the first 2. I'm going to watch it. So I found some time and I watched it.
I am not sure if I'm going to continue beyond season 3 because
I don't know either.
As you mentioned, Cavill is carrying it for me. And knowing that he's done, and that Netflix handled it so poorly, from what I've read online. I mean, obviously, I don't know the inside, but like from what I can tell, Netflix handled it very poorly, and they're replacing him with Liam Hemsworth, who I like. He's fine, but I don't think he's got the same chops that Cavill does, and I'd be very curious to see if Freya Allen and the other actors that are key to the story are going to have the same kind of chemistry with Liam Hemsworth that they do with Henry Cavill. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure.
Part of me wants to be like, I'm not watching it anymore. I'm a Cavill fan. I'm not doing it. There is a big part of me that wants to say that, but I don't want to be that guy. I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to watch the first episode and then I'll go from there. Like if it's still a good story, I'm a big story guy. Okay. So like I like visual effects, and I think if it looks good, it's going to carry a lot. You know, it's going to make a big difference. But I also grew up in the '80s and watched a lot of movies that the effects were terrible, and the story was what carried the movie. The actor's portrayal and the storyline and all that was key. If it was bad, I think it could be the prettiest thing on the world, but it's still garbage. So I think they're getting better. So I think season 3 was like they're building every season. It's getting, the storytelling is getting better and better and better. In my opinion, I think it's getting better. Now, can they continue that with the new lead actor? I don't know. That's a big order. We'll see. I'm going to give it a chance.
Moving on to the Internet Minute, which is, of course, brought to you by you, dear listener. The Citadel Cafe is 100% listener supported. If you get value out of the show, please consider putting a little bit of value back in. You can become a member at patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. Joining at any level will get you an invite to the member-only Discord server, which is shared with my personal Discord, and access to the Barista Gut bonus audio sessions. Special thanks to Bean Counter patrons Cosmic and Smurf588. Much appreciation to you for your support of this episode. Patron count is at 30, steady on from last week. We try to maintain or at least grow the audience by one supporting member every time we sit down to record. If you would like to become patron number 31, visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. My pick this week is not Lego. Now that really is your surprised face, I'm sure. As much as we like it, they don't release it quite often enough for us to do one every single week, although I would be down for that if they did. I am going to be talking about Green Shades in Spain. They are an architecture firm and a green living firm in Spain. And what I saw on TikTok, I researched a little bit, and what they are green shades or vegetal, vegetal awnings. There's a little bit of translation happening from Spanish, obviously. They are triangle shaped, sort of like, if you ever remember the parachute game when you were a kid, you know, when you'd have a bunch of different corners of a parachute and you'd like throw a ball around.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, imagine that, but instead of a ball, it's filled with vegetation. So the canvas that is used is porous and allows a little bit of water to come through. There's soil and greenery, moss and ferns and things that are on these awnings, and they do a number of things. Wow. They are usually suspended between tall buildings, so narrow alleys, and they shade the alley from the sun. They clean carbon dioxide out of the air and release oxygen back into it. And they're also pretty, so if you have an apartment higher up, you're not looking at the garbage bins and the other things that are down along the street in your alleyway. You're looking at flowers or at least green spaces. And they're very, very cool. And I see stuff like this every now and again on social media. And I often wonder, like, why has this stuff just not caught on? It's such a good idea. Green spaces on the top of buildings. We have some of them around here, like the farmer's market in Halifax has got a green roof, and there's a green, a gray water system for like flushing the toilets and stuff like that in the building. It's rainwater that comes down on the roof, and like that's really, really cool. But I feel like these green awnings are they're so simple, and they look like they would not really be that difficult to install. I would say the harder part would be if there's any kind of maintenance, like if you have to go up and you have to water them, or if there's a lot of maintenance to them, then sure, like that's going to involve somebody's job and a scissor lift probably, but they've got some really cool explanations about how it works technically in the article. You might have to translate it from Spanish to English with Google, but there's an aluminum lattice work that collects the water and then pulls everything so that you don't get like pools of water on the street. So in the same way that your house has got gutters, it directs the water down and then away from everything and moves things along. And
amazing.
Yeah, I really think they're fantastic. Now, the big question is for me, and maybe for you, I don't know how far north you are, but in Canada, obviously these would not be up year round because they would be covered in snow and become a hazard. Right. Like imagine how much snow would like these things are like twice the size of a car, each one of them. And so like the amount of snow that would be on top of them would be just stupid. But
that'd be no good.
So you'd have to take them down and put them up, every spring for them to be viable in the northern, part of the world where you do get winter. But in warmer climates like Spain, I imagine that they do quite well.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I wonder if they're in the southern part of the U.S. I'm like northern Ohio, so I definitely get winter.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Lots of snow. But yeah, I don't know. I've never seen anything like that. That is really, really intriguing though. Like where I live is all corn and cow pastures.
Right. So not a lot of tall buildings.
No. We do. I grew up in a small town and then I moved farther out into the farmland. So yeah, no tall buildings. I've been to the big city and it's all right.
Yeah. What about solar? Like any fields of solar panels or solar panels on barns and roofs and stuff out there?
Just in the past 3 years, people have started putting them on their house. and it is actually seems to be catching on, to be honest.
It's getting more and more affordable. Every time I look into it, I mean, I'm in
Yep.
an apartment, so I don't have anything to put them on, but
Hmm.
I am looking to eventually own a home. And one of the things I think about is like, how can I do my part, and, what kind of investments would be good for, reselling the home in the future. And solar panels are
Yes.
getting more and more affordable. Again, if it's on your home, then you still have to deal with like removing snow,
Yes.
when needed. But our
Mhm.
winters have been pretty mild the last little while, so I'm not sure how much snow is going to be happening in the future.
Same.
But there's
Yeah.
always that freak storm that comes through that dumps like a foot that you then have to make sure you go up and clear off the solar panels and whatnot.
Ours is Valentine's Day, if you want to know.
Really
Every past 10 years, Valentine's, like that weekend, we just get buried.
clobbered.
I don't know
Wow,
why. Yeah,
that's
it's just
funny.
really, it's really weird. I don't know why, but no, the solar panel thing is definitely it is dropping. We've looked into it a couple times. It's just not quite there. It would be nice to have it, because if you have that money up front to do that, then you definitely save in the long run, and you're doing a good thing. So yeah, we've looked into it ourselves. Actually, if I had my druthers, I'd actually move back into a city. Maybe not a big one, but a smaller one,
Right.
and utilize public transportation. Right now, it takes us 20 minutes to get anywhere. So I'm like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, the country living is great when you're young, and when you get old and been doing it for 20 years, it's like, yeah,
I'm a city guy. Halifax, the whole municipality is something like 400,000 people, but the
okay,
core city is less than that because the sprawl is real. So a good portion of that 400,000 would be outside of the main density, but probably about half of that
okay,
is like downtown, like where I live. And
okay.
I've got public transport. Like I don't own a car. I
Hmm.
walk or I use the system. I will confess I've really not used the system since COVID, because
Hmm.
I've either had a family member around to borrow a car from, or just sucked it up and walked and got my exercise in
Right.
that way. But prior
Yep.
to COVID, I was using the bus all the time to do all kinds of things, especially when I worked outside the home. When I worked outside the home, I was commuting and using the public
Yes.
transit system for that. We've got a ferry system.
Hmm.
So for me, a lot of the time I was able to walk to the ferry, take the ferry across to downtown Halifax, then go to whatever job I had downtown and do it that
Okay.
way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really liked it as a decompression, because then you weren't the
Yeah.
one driving. You just kind of had this nice
Exactly. Yes.
15-minute boat ride or 10-minute boat ride on your
Okay.
way home, and you can kind of just leave work
Yeah.
at work. You were outside if it was nice,
Yep.
and
Yep.
all that was
Yeah.
great.
I love that. Honestly, I'm jealous of that. Yeah, that would definitely be a thing. Like, because if like every job I've had has been a minimum 30-minute drive, and a lot of times longer one way,
Oh
and
wow,
then you drive. Yeah, then you drive back because we just live out so far from everything. Like, I mean, unless you're a farmer, uh, you're
yeah,
driving.
yep,
When in one respect, it is very, very nice. It's quiet, and it's not crazy. I actually live on a gravel road. A legit gravel road is my road.
wow,
So yeah, so we're out there. But like, I grew up in a smaller town, so it wasn't like big. It was a real small town. But I've been in towns and stuff, and I would like to move back to one of those mid-level towns that has public transport, or everything's within walking distance.
yeah,
You know, like I've done the working on cars and all that stuff. I can do it. I'd rather not.
yeah, yeah, totally. Or get yourself to a point where like you jump on a main highway and you're at a major center in 5 minutes,
Yes,
like
yes,
something
yes.
short. Yeah, yeah, I know what you
That
mean.
wouldn't, yeah, that wouldn't be bad at all. But yeah, it's a trek. Grocery shopping is an adventure.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Sounds like it. So what's your pick this week?
My pick is the webnasa.gov website. So I love the James Webb Space Telescope pictures. I think they're amazing. I don't understand all the science that went into creating that thing, but I love it. And back to Minecraft, I joke that when my streams go down, it's because they're taking spectacular pictures. Somehow that caught on, and there's a whole thing with tinfoil hat emotes and everything. I just love, if you're ever in a mood, like maybe a gray mood, or you're thinking like this was for me personally, like, man, things aren't really going that great. Just pull those up, and it'll put things in perspective. It does for me. Like, that's out there. That's real. That's not Hollywood. That's not somebody with a paintbrush. That's real. It's out there. It is amazing what is in, and I'm going to say nature, but it's the galaxy. I don't know what
Yes.
you call that,
Yeah.
but I mean, it is just fantastically mind blowing. I can just stare. Take it doesn't matter which picture. Just pick one, and I can lose myself in just looking at it. Like I have to limit my time because I'll just like stargaze basically for hours and hours and hours. Just look at them. I have to stop myself because I will just look at it, like just gaze off into the pictures.
I know what you mean.
The fact it's out there is just like because you see that like on Star Trek or Star Wars or Marvel movies, you know, you see that it's like somebody digitally made that before this was the thing, right? Like this wasn't there. They kind of had an idea of things were out there, but like that's real. It's really there. I was like, wow. I don't know. I can't get enough. I just can't get enough.
When it first launched and started sending images back, we talked a little bit about it on the Citadel Cafe. And ever since then, I have had the Pillars of Creation as my desktop background on my 5K iMac. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, like I'm the same way. Like even just my background, it's sort of like fades into the background a bit as you do your work every day. But then, you know, when you're closing down the Mac or you do that restart where you're kind of fresh, you know, it's a fresh screen when you boot it back up again, and you kind of remember, oh yeah, this isn't like a fancy background painting. Like this is a digital photograph taken from a real scientific, you know, observation satellite. You're just like, this is just bananas. What always gets me is the scale. When you say, okay, because I follow a number of people that are either physicists or astrologists or they do different things in physics and science, and they'll talk about something that the James Webb Telescope will put up in real scientific terms, but then also give it to you in like kind of like, this is just what you're looking at. And they'll say, okay, see this little postage stamp? Let's zoom in. That's the Pillars of Creation. See this big one here? That's 200 light years tall. And then they just repeat it. Yeah. That's 200 light years tall. And then they go back, postage stamp, 200 light years. And you're just like, oh my God. Like it really, on one hand, it's like, it's awe-inspiring and you can kind of like really lose yourself in it and about how wonderful it is that we know this stuff. But also you can get lost and feel like really insignificant, you know, in the grand scheme of things.
Yes. That's it. That was my next point. Like I don't know about you, but like sometimes like your problems in life or whatever it is, it's like, oh, like I can't. It's so overwhelming. Like this is everything right here. It's not. Just relax. Breathe.
Yeah, you're fine.
You know, just breathe. It's okay.
The person that just wiped the floor with you in Call of Duty, not the biggest problem in the world.
Exactly. That's not my KD. It's fine.
For people that will say like, you know, there's no such thing as aliens, I kind of go, look at this and try to tell me that there's nothing out there. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Like I'm definitely one of those people that, I mean, I'm a science guy and I always have been. And I'm waiting for just more and more information. And I feel like it just seems to be coming out like every other week. There's this big discovery. We're like, oh, hey, we thought the universe was 4 billion years old. Turns out, nope, I think we were wrong. And it's wonderful, especially if you've ever listened to Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about this stuff. And he always puts it in really good, I don't want to say layman's terms, but he puts them in explanations that make it easy for a lot of people to understand, even though he doesn't dumb it down. But he'll explain like, listen, we don't know what we don't know. And one of the best things to happen in science is when we realize the thing that we thought we knew was wrong because we've proven it wrong. And now we have new theories as to what could be right. And it opens up all kinds of questions. And he gets so excited about it. It's kind of hard for him to hide how excited he gets about like scientific questions and the unknown, especially when it comes to like really vast concepts. And hearing him talk about this kind of stuff was really cool too. But I'm on board. I need to actually refresh. I'm on the page now, and there's a bunch of images that I have not seen. It's been a while since I've popped by.
Have you seen the one with the question mark? That's the one, the newest one I saw.
Question mark.
It's legit a question mark. If you type in James Webb question mark, it'll come up. It looks so much like Doctor Who.
Oh, really?
I was floored. It's a natural thing.
I see it. Yeah.
It's not like I was like,
yeah, that's just bizarre.
I had to post it. I posted it on Twitter. I had to. I was like, are you kidding? I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. That's why I was like, it just instantly caught my eye. I was like, no way.
That's pretty funny. I mean, obviously a coincidence, but like still really cool. And it's certainly enough to light the internet on fire.
Oh yeah. I love that. Like every time I go there, I see something new. That is, to me, is just so cool. Like I love that stuff.
Well, that wraps up this episode of the Citadel Cafe. You can get more information about the show and links to some of the things that Tadpole and I talked about at thecitadelcafe.com. Music for the show was composed by Kevin MacLeod, and you can email us at thecitadelcafe@gmail.com or find the show by name on social media. Subscribe for free on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, even YouTube. If you have a podcast app, it will show up there. Be sure to leave a review or a comment. It helps the show find new listeners. Word of mouth is the easiest way to support the show. You can tell a friend about the Citadel Cafe and where they can go to listen to it. My name is Joel Duggan. You can find everything I am doing online at joelduggan.com. That includes links to thespawnchunks.com, my podcast about Minecraft. And of course, I'm Joel Duggan on Twitch and social media. Lego on Fridays, Minecraft the rest of the time. And I didn't talk about it today, but I've been exploring a new game called Palia, which is billed as a cozy MMO. A lot of crafting, a lot of fishing, a lot of hunting. But it's got some beautiful game design, and I've been playing that over on Twitch. So if you want to check that out, the VODs are also on YouTube. It's pretty easy to find. Tadpole, thank you so much for being on the show, my friend. This has been a wonderful first outing. I'm looking forward to having you back on again already. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. This has been so much fun. This is a blast. I love it. It's so much fun.
I'm glad you had a good time. Another feather in the cap, another skill along with DaVinci Resolve, right?
Yeah.
If people want to find you and check out more of the things that you're doing, where can they find you online?
You can find me over on Twitch at twitch.tv/tadpole_milk_. On Twitter at tadpole_milk_. I love the underscores. And over on YouTube at Tadpole Milk, all one word, no underscores.
You've been listening to the Citadel Cafe, where we are fast, easy, and cheap, but you can only pick two.